The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Poetic beats.
When you see me, you can see it. California, California. When you see me, you can see it. California, California, California.
California beaches, California breezes, California bitches, our California needs. Sun up, sun down, all smiles, no frowns. Cali life is like a circus, minus the clowns. I keep the top down, swag stay turned, and there's so much heat, the week get burned. Every day is the right day. In Cali, I do it my way. Kush keep it highway. Sunset on Friday, promenade Saturday, Sunday to Beverly. Fuck the forecast, we know what the weather be. Post on the strip, showing off the whip. Real nigga love from the Bloods and the Crips. Cali, from the valley to the beaches to the flatland. Cali on my plate, I'm like a big old fat man. The desert is dessert, grapevine growing perk. All play, no word, got my boy about to surf.
When you see me, you can see it. California, California. When you see me, you can see it. California, California, California.
I'm off that Cali Kush, blowing in that Cali breeze. I love life like my niece, Cali dream. Palm trees and beaches, sunsets and clubs, VIPs, bad bitches, hoes and things. Throw up the West, represent your city and your state. Compton, California, shout out to Big Face. We on a Cali tip, let's take a Cali trip. LA to the Bay, that's that Cali shit. Banging Dr. Dre on the way, that's that Cali shit. Bumping Snoop Dogg every day, that's that Cali shit. DJ Quick in my shit, that's that Cali shit. I'm a Cali chick, hood to the Cali chick. Back to the hood, I was satin on my Cali shit. Queen of the West Side, BFLY, CALI, that's what I be on. Cali is my home, and home is where the heart is.
When you see me, you can see it. California, California. When you see me, you can see it. California, California, California. 6-400 spokes, windows down, push smoke. West Coast, we got the best smoke. Romance and with mango, and it don't take two to tango. Not with the sweet.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of Toomer's Town. I'm your host, Al Toomer. Happy belated Memorial Day to all y'all who celebrated it. I don't know why they celebrate that shit every year. That you celebrate dead motherfuckers, right? Memorial, that's what it's Memorial Day. They celebrate the dead.
No, I think they celebrate killers.
That's what
That
got
they
you
celebrate.
doing what they were doing.
They celebrate killers.
Right. Yeah, badge of honor, motherfuckers, that type of shit. But, hey, it was Memorial Day. Anyway, man, y'all know I always have an unorthodox way of starting out doing my goddamn show. I just flow with it. I just can't. I try to script shit. I just can't do it. I do my best coming up the top of the dome. Bugs and shit flying around in there, man. They stand that shit. They really would. Y'all, you might not have seen it, man. I don't want to kill you, motherfucker, but why would you just fly by my nose on my show?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Hate killing flies or insects or ants or anything. Roaches. I ain't got nothing against roaches.
Yeah,
Motherfucker, you just can't be in my place.
most certainly.
You know. For the most part, man, we are all murderers to the degree because we kill other little insects like they ain't just because they annoy us. Like I say, just because they're around us, man. I had you don't remember that black Benz I had?
Most certainly I do.
That, man, That motherfucker got, and I helped move, a friend of mine move, and the motherfucker I helped. This bag and shit was, had roaches and shit at them. So the roaches got at my Benz, bruh. And just festered. It took me so long to get them roaches out of that motherfucker, man. They would never show up until I had a bad woman in the car with me. Come running across the dashboard. I mean, do shit like that.
So you had an ugly motherfucker in there, they just wouldn't show up. Huh?
No.
You no help at all.
You never saw him. But when it was a woman in there, he would come scurrying across the dashboard, running all across the woman's shit. It's like, God damn. I bombed that car. I did you did every goddamn, I did everything I could. Them motherfuckers lasted in there a year and a half.
So the fine bitch was trying to hold you back.
They just laughed. So, a lot of them, that's the thing about it. I mean, shit, motherfucker laugh like a motherfucker.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, we got roaches running across in a Benz. Snooty ass roaches. That type of shit. But the way I finally got them, for you people with roaches, there's a little thing that is, I don't even, what is that little black, it's a little black object where it's almost like goddamn, because motherfuckers sadistically kill roaches. There are better ways to do that. You remember that goddamn roach motel where they check in, but they don't check out.
Yeah.
Now these this motherfucker walking in there stuck. Can't go nowhere.
Like the fly trap.
And just starve.
Fly trap.
That's a better way to kill a goddamn thing than that, man.
That's suffering.
That is.
What kind of goddamn suffering is that?
Anyway, man. Let us get started on this show and introduce my goddamn panel because we're going to have a great time. I have comedian comrades in here tonight. And we're going to have a ball. Let me start to my far left with my man J Speed. Man, goddamn thing for hitting the, you sent some money in there last week and I appreciate that. While you sitting there today.
Yeah, I'm going to send some money every week.
Good.
Every show I like. No shows I don't like, you won't see my money.
Good.
I only spend my money when it's shit I like.
Good. That's why you sitting in tonight. Tonight you won't have to do it electronically. You can just hand it to me.
Won't be no bullshit Miller man with it. Or should I say Miller woman?
Yeah, man. But tell them something about yourself. You'd have been in the industry when you last Boy Scout. You did things on goddamn Living Color.
Living Color, Point of No Return, Congo.
Yeah, Congo. We did that one together.
Right. I started off and I wanted to do comedy, and that shit didn't work out because there ain't too many motherfuckers want to hear somebody in a bow tie tell them about the shit they didn't want to be hearing about. Yeah. So then I jumped into the stuntman thing, did some shit for Samuel Jackson, Senator Poirier. At the time in 1990, there was not that many black stuntmen. So I just fell right in from my boxing career, my martial art career. I just fell right into the line. Yeah,
well, I can see you doubling for Sam Jackson and Jamie Foxx. Man, I always said you look just like them niggas. The Sam Jackson, Jamie Foxx, and the other one you just mentioned. That you look just like them.
Yeah, that's why they got my ass off that show, Living Color. Like you can't. I was glad too. Once Jamie Foxx put on the dress, I was like, motherfucker, I need to leave.
We gonna talk about that a little later about the dresses and shit. All right, before we go any further, let me introduce my Miss Terry Joyce, very funny young lady. I mean, it's been in the game for a while. She came in, was one of the top 10 finalists on Last Comic Standing, and
in
for like 2
2003.
years. Yeah, 2 years.
Well, we did the third season was actually it was first season against second season in a competition that came. The Last Comic Standing was really a midsummer replacement when it first started, the first season.
Yeah,
and then when we had 2 seasons, and they wanted to bring it into the fall. And it was a replacement on the fall lineup after the Olympics that year. And
right.
So they did a first season against second season straight competition. And that season got canceled. Alonzo Bowden won it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, and then they brought it back again.
Yeah, and that had to be a real cool experience.
It was. It was.
Is that the same show Crawford came from?
Oh,
Crawford? What is his name?
Corey?
No, Crawford.
Crawford.
The big fat guy. What is his name?
He's a comedian?
Yeah, a comedian.
I know
He lost a lot of weight, but he looked like a little turtle when he
Come on,
was
LaVille.
LaVille.
Yeah, man. I've been knowing LaVille 25 years. Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. And you do your own podcast on everything. In other words, when you ain't doing comedy, you are really like the biggest advocate of marijuana.
Well, I started out becoming involved with marijuana based on I was doing a show out of the Ice House Comedy Club called The Dope Show with a guy named Jeffrey Peterson. And at the time, honestly, because people go, oh, you did a marijuana show, blah blah blah. Well, I wasn't really, I was starting to smoke marijuana at that time, but I wasn't like the stoner chick in high school. I was really straight and everything.
Was the shit good? Was the shit good? I just want to know, was the shit good?
Some good shit.
Okay.
And during that time, it was 2007, and I was beginning to understand the politics that were going on in Los Angeles, and it was a little bit more provocative to be doing a show like that.
Right.
And so intermittently with doing the show, we were getting some publicity, and I was supposed to go on National Lampoon Radio for 420, and I didn't have a car at the time, and so I asked a friend of mine to give me a ride, and he worked for a doctor who did medical marijuana recommendations, and a lot of times when you before, because now it's legal for recreational use, but at the time, a lot of times they would set up the doctor's office in the same room as the dispensary. And I went to work with him in the doctor's office, and the dispensary got raided. And so when it was raided, everybody ran into the doctor's office, and I was caught up in the raid. So I was never, okay. So I was never really in the dispensary, and I was not a medical marijuana patient. Now, at the time, I was supposed to call the Pasadena Weekly and do an article because we were taking the show to Portland, and we had some discrimination with one of the classic rock stations up there. They wouldn't let their host be on the show. I sent out an article and asked some questions. I said, well, why? First of all, it's a benefit for Oregon NORML, and Oregon was the first state to decriminalize marijuana in 1973. Why is this an issue for you guys, for them to do, your hosts? Because their classic rock station was selling detoxification products on air, and I thought that was pretty hypocritical. So I questioned that. All hell broke loose, and because of that, you get press, and it's surrounding a issue of change.
Right.
So when I was in the raid, I was supposed to do a sister article at the Pasadena Weekly about what happened up with the Willamette Weekly. And when I went into the office, the editor was pro-cannabis. Yeah. So then I ended up on the cover of the Pasadena Weekly with American flag behind me and the words "bongloads of justice" and how a DEA raid turned me into a missionary for medical marijuana. So it was like my parents were like, "What?" It was like this whole controversial sort of thing. But
how many years was this was put into, like, if you had to put how many years you was going through all this?
It was 2007 is when it all started.
And then when did it end? By the time
well, after that, see, it affected me. Like, that particular, what happened affected me, and it really changed the course of my life, to be honest with you.
That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, I mean, because what happened was
that's the shit I want to get to.
Yeah, I mean, when I was held at gunpoint by the feds and the DEA, and we were all being handcuffed and everything, and we had voted for medical marijuana. At the time, the DOJ was unfairly raiding the dispensaries. And I actually signed an affidavit that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And at that time, that's when Eric Holder came was in office working with Obama. And in 2009, he brought in the James Cole memo, which actually made they stopped funding the DOJ to raid dispensaries if they were following state guidelines, because it's really a state versus federal government issue, because it's still illegal on the federal level.
Most certainly.
So I mean, no matter what, right? Yeah. But so it was. It really woke me up. I mean, when I was handcuffed, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, I've been asleep. How did it get this bad?" Because I felt that I had voted for it, and that it was a violation for them to have a gun in my face.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Welcome to the black world. God damn it. Welcome to the black world.
At some point, they get their wake up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She should feel like she was working on the Underground Railroad.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. It was really shocking, you know.
So when you've really been an advocate, you've posted,
I've been an advocate. I'm well educated on it. One of the things that I found out, if you go back to when it was made illegal, you look at the people who made it illegal. It was the Rockefellers and the DuPonts, and all of the the
big
people, big pharmacists. I mean, they really. And then hemp, you can make paper, fiber, fuel, energy. We could be running our cars on it. Best clothes. It was really a monopoly to get rid of it. And of course, they ran a propaganda campaign. So
exactly.
If you want to see how our media works as liars, it started with William Randolph Hearst.
Okay.
So they will run it, and then they brought in the religious aspect to it and all the lies about it. And I mean, granted, people can abuse marijuana.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's
like
for
anything.
everybody. Right, like anything. All right, and it still does have addictive properties to it.
One question before you go any further with that.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever wear marijuana clothes?
Yes, I have.
Underwears?
Not underwear.
I wore some boxes and kept my dick hard.
Right.
And I could not stand that. So I had to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Because I'm going around saluting the whole goddamn country.
All right. So I've been solid. I got to say something. All right. Hold on.
Big Pharma, you don't need Viagra. Just put some hemp boxer shorts on, and you're good to go.
Jody, when I say shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He had me a dick hard.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I had to step in. I'm willing to let y'all have the floor, but I don't even know the image of your dick in my mind.
No, I'm just telling you what you can do.
I know, man. No more. What you can talk about a shirt or some socks or something. I don't joke about your dog and your dick, man.
Well, you didn't have to really listen to that.
Well, then how can I not listen to it, Jay?
It was like...
Anyway, moving on.
You talk about toes and all kinds of other bullshit. I could talk about my dicky hard getting in some goddamn marijuana shorts.
Your house on your...
That's a first, actually.
That's a first?
Yeah, I've never heard about it.
Never heard it.
Like, how is it going to benefit you? Even if there's some drawing like that, you got a dick and you wear something?
May make a spare tongue hard.
Oh, no.
Put them too tight or something like that. Shit.
Well, they do have certain products, like hemp lube and things like that. And,
yeah, they got all that. They got hemp vodka.
They're experimenting with that kind of stuff.
They got vodka made out of hemp. You ever heard of that? It's called Earth Mama.
I haven't heard about that. I've heard about infusing alcohol with hemp. I mean, with marijuana and making a tincture.
Right.
And you can do that on your own.
Why would you? Both of them are downers. Why would you do that? Because alcohol is considered a downer and marijuana is considered a downer.
I don't know. I mean, I know that there is. Some people like to have. It's more like a tincture. I don't know if it's meant to be get you. I'm not totally versed on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just get down into the crux of it and the legalization, and we want to talk about really just what is the difference, because I tell you go back at least as far as I do, if not a little bit farther. I remember the weed, I grew up smoking, man, even in my 20s, dude. You remember that weed and shit that you had? The next thing you know, some shit come out like chronic in 1992. But for the most part, what type of weed was we smoking? And that shit still does the same thing. This shit, man, I don't know what the fuck it is. The shit that they're legalizing, I don't know what is in it. And if I'm afraid of anything that they legalize, because that means they tank the shit, where you are addicted to it in a different way. They did that with cigarettes and put all type of shit in it. And this shit here, man, I don't know what it is, and there's too many different goddamn. Yeah, it's natural. It comes from the ground, but all this shit is.
Well, they've definitely made stronger strains of it than it has before, and there's a complete culture to it. It's almost like creating wine.
Is it hybrid?
Some of it's hybrid. Some of it will be sativa, which is the kind that it makes you more up, and then there's an indica that brings you down. There's some that's in between. There's some products that are coming out that CBD is a big deal right now, which has no THC in it.
Very small
and that's
amount.
Completely legal, and so that's very beneficial and therapeutic to people. There is a concern about the quality of cannabis. There always has been. There's a regulation aspect to it. Now people can do dabs, and that's really very, very potent and powerful, and you got to be careful with that. So there are things that they are doing to cannabis that may not be good for you. And also, there's some vape products too that have other things in it, like the glycerin and stuff like this, and so which can not necessarily be really great for your lungs.
Right.
So can I ask you a question? Now, the way it was explained to me, I'm not a weed connoisseur. I have puff, but I never inhale.
Okay.
Just to feel like I'm in the groove.
Really?
No, I don't fuck around like that.
Okay.
Because I like
being another joint.
Because I like to be totally in control.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
But back in the days when my sister was smoking marijuana, they used the leaves, and you can always tell it was leaves, stems, and seeds. Now, somebody explained it to me in one way. They were saying like, well, we were smoking the male plant, not the female plant, because that's where the buds come from.
The female plant is the plant that makes the buds.
Right.
The male plant will not grow any bud, although you can use the fibers and things like that for different things. Some people actually juice the leaves. There's
I've heard that's the best way to take it, to drink some weed tea.
And the juicing isn't supposed to really make you high or put it in the soup, because it's when you put fire to it, when it's that ignite, that's when it brings the THC in, and
that's
brings that out.
what the medical have a problem with, because through my research as being a herbalist, and I deal with all kinds of herbs and herbs from a historical history. One thing I have known, even back into the kingdom of Kemet, that we call Egypt now, is they never smoked it. They separated it, and that's where you get your healing effect from it. When you smoke it, it only gets you a high. And let me tell you this. Brothers have told me, if they have a toothache pain, marijuana is the last fucking thing you want to be smoking, because it intensifies the pain.
Yeah.
There are certain pains that marijuana won't ease. It'll intensify. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of that?
Well, I have, and there's a difference between ingesting it too. Lately I have been ingesting it more than I have been smoking it, and I feel that I can have a little bit more control over it, my dosage. For example, I like to use. Matter of fact, I have one. I can even show it, but I like that. It comes in a little package like this and has a little gel. It's almost like a gummy bear kind of thing, but it's a gel. And I take and it's sort of sectioned in parts, and so I just take like one little tab, and I use that. And usually, like, if I have anxiety or some aches and pains and things like that, it'll kind of help me be centered and be okay, and I'm not high, or I'm still in control of things.
But do the edibles put you to sleep more than the smoke?
It depends. It depends. I mean, you could get, if you dose yourself incorrectly on on edibles. One time I ended up my hair's red right now, but one time I did dye my hair red the next day, and I tripped out for like 24 hours. I had a really bad, but that time I had
24 hours.
Yeah, I was like, it took me 24 hours.
Was that hash or weed?
A friend of mine needs a mustard.
Wait a minute, what was it, edible?
I hadn't eaten, and I'd done a show, the Dope Show in Portland, and
the Dope Show.
Yeah, and I had some edibles, and my friend had made like these brownies. I could kick his butt for it. And I hadn't eaten all day, and I ate those 2 brownies, and let's just say I felt, I was not in this reality. It was so strong.
You had to eat a whole lot of shit, Terry, to get high off that shit.
More than an acid trip.
No, you ate a whole lot of shit.
Trip.
Yeah. You ate a whole lot of it.
I ate a whole lot of it. I'll never
eat a whole goddamn cake.
You have to be
whole pan
careful.
of brownies and all this shit.
Yeah.
Edibles ain't never did anything to me, man. I've never eat enough because I'm not gonna sit up here and eat a bunch of this bullshit. I'd rather just, smoke my shit or drink it in tea or do whatever. But all this sweet shit and the goodies and all that shit. I mean, it's just the consumption. What do you feel about that now?
But it's good for people that, let's say, you
Let's talk about people that I'm talking about.
If you are going to chemo,
listen. What I'm trying to say is there a point of overdoing it?
Well, there is. You can't overdo it, but the good thing about it is that you can't OD on it. Nobody's ever died from having too much cannabis in their system.
How about they smoke the shit every day and eat like hell and become like a pig
you
and have a heart
tell
attack?
Me a motherfucker ain't got
you can go on a vision quest.
But you gonna tell me some motherfucker they died in car wreck driving because they wasn't high.
That's a different situation.
Okay, but you said nobody was.
But in terms of like ODing from the actual thing itself, like opium, you can't.
But there are side effects where you can really fuck yourself up.
Some of this shit that I disagree.
You could freak out.
I disagree. I'm telling you, some of this shit they got today, that shit could. Girl, last July, I'm telling you, last July 13, I smoked some of that shit and woke up in the emergency room.
Well, so you could go to the emergency room because you freaked out. Or,
no, it wasn't no freaked out. It's the shit I smoked. Cess didn't do this to me. Even Chronic didn't do that. It's the strands of shit. I don't know what they're doing to this shit nowadays. And I'm just saying, do you smoke blunts or you have your?
I've smoked a blunt. I've smoked. I've pretty much smoked every aspect of how you can smoke it. But
bong, all that.
Yeah, but I don't do bong hits all day long. I'm a pretty reserved.
So do you ever mix it with
at this time of my life?
Like people in Europe, they mix all their marijuana with tobacco. They like to roll their stuff with tobacco.
Some
people liked it that way?
I've smoked it that way. I would prefer not to have the tobacco in it.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go again.
The addiction of it.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I still smoke these. I'm still a spliff guy, a zigzag guy.
Right.
Anybody, if I smoke a blunt because somebody else got it, I'm gonna stop smoking them motherfuckers. Man, this is all you really need. Yeah. You don't goddamn roll a blunt, man, and roll 52 joints in that motherfucker, and you smoking 10 of them a day. How high do you need to be?
Yeah, but I got a question. Now, you got certain different races. Mm-hmm. Now, you take the Asian. They only got like 5 centimeters of eyesight. And weed breaks your eyesight down to about 2. You know what I mean? Yeah. How in the fuck could they ever drive with their eyesight going? Because their eyes are almost closed. Right. And then you got the fat motherfuckers who wants to be on weed.
Right.
And now instead of eating 1 box of goddamn Fruit Loops, they eating 6 boxes of Fruit Loops. So they might not end up with addiction, but they end up with a fucking heart attack or obesity.
Yeah, exactly. Because America is one of the few countries with an obesity problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Motherfuckers ain't just overly fat, just die. Man, I see just fat all on their back, just fat.
Do you know, have you noticed too, like you go to certain stores in different parts of the country and the clothes will be bigger?
Yeah, like here. They got the short shit here. We were just talking about this. Really? Like back at home in Georgia, ATL, I could wear regular size clothes. But here, I had to go to the tall and the fat man show because they want to stop shit at 32 from your crotch down. I wear that shit in the waist. How in the fuck you take my pants all the way down? So I'm looking like Michael Jackson at his best concert, goddamn it, every time I put on something. If I go through like all the other bullshit. So you're right.
Yeah. But I went to I was at Malibu like maybe a couple months ago, and I was window shopping, and their clothes are all skinny still. Malibu, they don't, I guess they eat like wafers or something, or they're, the land of narcissism,
Yeah, right.
Like all the designer clothes are still like,
Yeah, the land, that's a good word for it, the land of narcissism.
The land of narcissism.
Did it hurt your career, though?
Did it hurt my career? In a certain aspect, yes, it did. And also, I didn't just stop at marijuana. In terms of like, in terms of what I wanted to talk about, because when I realized that marijuana was just one aspect of a greater problem that existed in the United States, so I started doing a show called Hollywood Hemp Hour, and I started talking about different things and how they were regulating it and the discrimination there. And then I created Freedom of Choice, and now I'm in the alternative media, and I became vocal about a bunch of other stuff. And so, we're not going, with the grain of of the popular mainstream narrative of what you're supposed to say and do, you get blackballed.
Yeah.
Do it lead? Do you believe that marijuana, in some people, in some cases, can lead to bigger and heavier drugs? I know that used to be one of the things back in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s that marijuana is the door opening to other bigger drugs. Do you believe that happens?
I would say no.
I would say no too, because some motherfuckers are on heavy drugs and go to marijuana to try to get off heavy
right.
drugs.
Okay. Sometimes people use marijuana because they have other drug addictions, and it's a safer. It's like almost like methadone to something else. Like people who are alcoholics, sometimes they will wean off of alcohol through their cannabis use. Right. Granted, you're transferring it again, something to something else, but you're a lot more functional of a person.
Do you smoke weed every day?
Not every day, no.
Well, I'm one of them people, man. I mean, I smoke weed occasionally.
Yeah.
Really. I'm not one of those people who can smoke marijuana. I can drink and smoke cigarettes every day, but weed intensifies how the fuck I feel. If I'm feeling good, that's what it's going to intensify.
Like I haven't had any today.
You haven't?
Yeah, well, I have because I'm feeling good. But if I'm goddamn emotionally fucked up about something, that's what it's going to intensify. So I don't even fuck with it when I'm feeling down because it only intensifies.
It helps me when I'm not feeling good emotionally.
Well, then,
it's the opposite.
Okay. But you also smoke it when you're feeling good, too.
Yes, sometimes.
So you smoke all the time.
But I'm more inclined to smoke it. I'm more inclined to use it when I don't feel good.
I'll tell the truth and shame the devil, goddammit.
Sometimes when I feel good, I'm like, I don't feel like messing up feeling good. I mean, like you wake up, you feel good, you're like...
One last question.
Everything is,
One last question.
Okay.
Have you ever met someone on heavy drugs who didn't smoke marijuana?
Oh, yeah.
You actually met somebody who on heavy drugs who never smoked marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a percentage wise, is it more or less stuff?
I would say it's more common than you realize.
No, that's not my question. My question is it more of or less stuff?
I would say less of more the people who are alcoholics or who are doing.
No, I'm not talking about liquid drugs. I'm talking about
most
like pills or anything else, cocaine or anything else.
People. Look, I hung out with some. Unfortunately, I worked on a gig where they were doing cocaine. They didn't want to touch marijuana. They frowned at me. They go, "Oh, you probably got the munchies, huh?" They wanted to snort their coke the whole time. Okay.
Everybody
how about the new generation?
Choice, man.
The new generation?
Yeah, are they taking cocaine and then smoking marijuana too to balance out what's going on? The high and the low?
Not generally. Okay. I mean, it's almost like two different kinds of people. The people who want to smoke weed are not the same people that use cocaine. Okay. Generally, that's what my opinion.
I'm telling you, I have really goddamn snorted cocaine in 10 to 15 years. But when I damn sure smoked weed because it balanced my shit out. Especially when I was with a woman. If you done snorted, because I was an uppity cocaine. I was no crack. That's low class. That's what I did. But, weed balance that out, especially when you're a woman, because, snorting that shit can draw your dick up like a chitlin, man.
That's what I heard.
You can hit the baddest woman around you in the world, and you got everything. Your nose is like, and your dick is like, I'm good.
Well, let me ask you a question, because
let me get in here. I just started it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. But like I said, that balance be out as far as that go. You go ahead and ask your question. What is it?
My question is, I hear everybody talking about crack and like when that epidemic started. But I remember way back in the 70s when I went to New York, and they called it freebasing.
It was the same shit.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
They was mixing baking powder to turn it into a rock or whatever like that.
Well, they say
so what
made
the difference between the addiction between doing it with baking soda versus the chemicals they was using to make crack?
That's what they say Richard Pryor blew himself up doing, man.
I'm not sure.
Because I did say it's a major difference between freebasing and then crack. Yes.
I don't know.
Both of them turns up a rock, but it's a difference in...
I didn't know. I thought they were one and the same. So
no.
They are. It's just different. So it's different language.
No, they just say it's totally different. totally different.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
I don't either. I ain't
See my
trying
sister do it, but I don't know.
I ain't trying to go far.
Way back in 1971.
You know about Free Ray Ricky Ross.
Almost certainly.
Oh yeah. So that whole thing was, I mean, and this, and our own government, CIA was flying the planes for the cocaine
Out of Costa Rica.
and
Yeah,
it was
you're
meant to tear down Los Angeles.
No, let's just be honest. It was meant to tear down the black community.
That's right. It was meant to tear down.
Let's don't be politically correct
that's
about
what it
anything
is.
when we
You're
talk
right.
tonight. Let's be straight to the point.
To tear down the black community.
Yeah,
Yes, it
most
was.
certainly.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because at the same time they was dropping the cocaine, they was having, in Watts, they was having trains over there with guns in them. And
Exactly.
make an announcement and say, there's free guns in a goddamn train, and you can get in it.
Yeah.
You know, so it was
No
really,
one got arrested
and they
going
was
to get them.
using, armed forces, planes and jets to bring that shit in.
Okay, go ahead.
I just looked it up, and supposedly there is a difference between freebase and crack.
Yeah.
One is, it says freebase cocaine is essentially the base from the form of the drug. The drug in its solid form, and then while crack cocaine is produced by mixing the original cocaine with a combination of water, baking soda. Freebase cocaine comes from using ammonia to extract the base. So maybe different chemicals. I don't know.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
I never fucked with it. So,
Look, I had one fucked up time. Even though I was a boxer all my life, I ain't fucked with anything. But I started working at this goddamn chicken place. And I had a boss man that, we were just like brothers. He wasn't no older than I was, but he started before I did. And this motherfucker gave me something called a purple Macadots. And I was going to an Earth, Wind & Fire Michael Jackson concert.
Oh, wow.
And he said, don't take it until you, get in the parking lot. And this shit was just as small as, I don't know how small you can say, but it was about as small as the ball in a pen. And I said, ain't no shit like that gonna get me high. You know what I mean? And especially told me to break it in half and give it to my friend.
Yeah.
The fucking concert was over and I didn't know it began. And then 7 hours later, I still was high.
Yeah, that shit that takes
That acid is fuck. Yeah, that acid will fuck you up. And after that, I was scared of every fucking drug other than goddamn alcohol or cigarettes. Yes, mescaline. Most certain.
You done been there.
And that motherfucker tried to give me some shit the next morning, talking about strawberry Mexican. I was like, hell no. That shit you gave me last night, and it was on a piece of paper. This next shit he was trying to give me was on a piece of paper with a fucking flower on it. He said, put it on your tongue. Like, motherfucker, nuh-uh, that other shit you gave me.
No, fuck that.
Yeah, I was sitting in the middle of the floor. Everybody was going, the motherfucker was sweeping the goddamn Coliseum. And I'm sitting in the middle of the floor saying, when the concert gonna start?
Tore out.
Oh, that's it. What an awful.
Oh, man, that's the kind of shit you take at home. You don't do it in public.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. But I ain't never tripped no shit like that, bro. But I have.
First time, last time.
Have you ever did one of them wet daddies?
I ain't fucking around after that. Because I thought something that small, anything bigger than that right there would fuck me up. Seriously.
Man.
One thing that I wanted to make, I'd like to say.
You smoke some of that shit, bro. That shit, I don't know what. Actually, I think it's something a motherfucker ought to take like a tetanus shot. Everybody ought to smoke that shit once a year, every so often, because it really opens up your goddamn mind. But that ain't no way a motherfucker need to be 24/7, man. I mean, that formaldehyde shit, motherfuckers. That shit,
yeah. They call that
some of the world's greatest goddamn. It's Sherm.
Sherm. That's what I'm
talking about. That's why I said wet daddy. When motherfucker dip a cigarette. Sherm. That's the thing about it. The fact that you could dip something, you wet this motherfucker and spark it, and it's still this flaming. That's
Latinians love that kind of high. They love that high.
You never heard of that, Terry?
East Coast love
I've heard
different.
of shrimp. I think I have, but I don't want to do it though.
How about mushrooms?
Mushrooms, yes.
You gonna be an advocate for that too?
Doing mushrooms and acid and shit. You can try sure.
Well, I think Colorado just legalized it.
Colorado, it was one state just legalized. Would you be an advocate for the mushrooms?
Well, it would depend. I mean, I there was a friend of mine that was trying to get it on the ballot here in California, and he swears that it had therapeutic benefits for him.
What?
And that
Mushrooms.
Yeah,
Shroom. They call them shrooms.
Shrooms, but
a bunch of bullshit.
I'm
holding everything. If a motherfucker on some shrooms, I'm telling they scared. I got a bulletproof vest on. I got a fucking gun on my side because you don't know what the fuck they gonna do.
I've done it a couple times, mushrooms, but I did it, like more of a vision quest or a shamanic kind of thing. I had a friend that maybe I was out in the camping and had a tea and a fire and, just did kind of a thing and, just...
60 love child shit, huh?
In nature kind of thing. I wanted to experiment.
Take out the bra and just let the titties hang and
Terrence
shit.
McKenna,
that kind of shit.
Listening, but again, the Terrence McKenna stuff and everything and the acid and tune in, drop out, that's all CIA. Mm-hmm. That's all CIA to affect our consciousness as people. So...
Yeah.
You got to look at things differently. I mean, they've brought stuff into our society to affect us culturally, and so that we can be manipulated.
They tried on a serviceman first.
Wonderful job of that. So this is last week we talked about a very controversial topic up here. I'm gonna breach on it before we get up out of here. And we talked about the abortion ban. Okay. And whether kids should be aborted or this is a woman's choice. And it is a woman's choice. It really is. And for certain cases, when a woman's life is in jeopardy, sometimes it's necessary. So you can't ban it when, a woman's life is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
But when we talk about all these goddamn, when you're doing drugs with other motherfuckers and you're licentiously having sex and a kid is created under those circumstances, should he be zipped out or just given a chance? I mean, we make dumb decisions when we're high.
Yeah.
A lot of sex goes on no matter what you do, be it drinking, smoking weed, or heavy drug. Most of the time, fucking gonna be part of it. So a lot of kids are carelessly goddamn fucking created in the world, and, that's what we gotta stop.
Well, a lot of people are accidents.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you ever asked your parents?
I'm an accident, actually.
I know I was.
I wasn't planned.
Well, the only reason I might disagree with that on any level or any terms, because whatever the fuck this universe creates, it can handle it. It's the people can't handle it. But the universe, look, we live in a maze. Regardless if you're going to take the red pill or the blue pill, what the fuck you ever think about it. But when you really break it down, the creator, whatever it may be, didn't create condoms. So that means we should be fucking. And if you go fuck, you go make something. You understand what I'm saying? So whatever you produce, the universe is not going to reject it. It's only us reject it. Why? Because we must assimilate into a certain type of maze. But other than that, it's bullshit. So I believe in the first thing, there should be, look, I have a personal experience with my neighbor who was raped and choose to have that child. And it turned out to be one of the most, he's about 45 years old now. His name was Dwight. And you can tell he was white looking. She was raped by a white man. He was white looking, but you can listen to his voice, you can tell that it was something about him. Just think about if she had aborted that kid due to the fact of what some cruel motherfucker did to her and took it out on the child. You understand what I'm saying?
You said it. Who did this, man?
It was her name. I wasn't going to say her name. But anyway.
She related to you?
She was my next door neighbor.
Okay. So, I hate to go there with it, man, but you say she raped by a white man.
Right.
And you get that a chance. Been you or me, another black man, I bet she'd aborted it.
Maybe, but I think in that time, but I'm just saying in that time we came from a different structure than what we at now. That a woman considered her body as a kingdom, as a queendom, and whatever came through her birth canal, it was God-given regardless of how it got there. And so I think now we use so much of an excuse. I mean, God, there's certain women who use abortion as birth control. And there's so many women, like my cousin always said, don't have so many abortions, goddamn, you can call them serial killers.
Yeah, repeat offenders.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just
7 and 8. Sometimes it comes down to accountability, responsibility. But don't you have the right to do whatever you do with your body. But once that heartbeat in that body and becomes a living being, now who takes the right of that child? It ain't just your body no more. You got two bodies in one body.
Nah. So, it's a subject, like I said.
Are you curious about what I think about it?
No, go ahead. No.
I want to hear it. Don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Because it's a complex issue.
It is very.
I really think that a lot of, first
it.
of all, I think a lot of the abortion issues that are going on right now are kind of just exasperated by the president that we have and his stance that he had on abortion as opposed to what Hillary Clinton was thinking. And so there's a real push from the liberal left to make this a really big issue. Also, the pink pussy hat wearing thing, and I really like we're not women's rights, all this kind of stuff,
Exactly.
and like as if something's being taken away from them. First of all, when Trump took office, the only thing that he did different about abortion was that you couldn't have an offshore abortion. That was like that. They weren't going to fund Planned Parenthood to do that anymore. That is something that Obama put into place. It was taken away at one point. He brought it back. Then Trump took it back. That was the only thing that changed in terms of abortion. My feeling is this is how I feel about Roe versus Wade.
Let's hit it.
Okay, I think that first of all, if you take that away, all right, you're going to end up having women going back to where they were doing it illegal. It would be unsafe. It's going to go in the black market. It's going to be, like all the horrible.
But the catch is with this new
like
law.
drugs.
The catch is with this new law.
But
they are not only.
But I don't think it should be like but now when they're doing like the late term abortions and this and that,
that's when it's really fucked up.
That's murder.
Yeah, that's what it's really fucked up.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
In terms of a moral situation, what does God think? When does life really exist? That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But when you legislate things in the United States, we're not necessarily legislating everything based on a spiritual or religious belief.
Right.
Not saying that that's a good thing. I just know that our country wasn't founded on that.
I don't bring that into the argument.
But again, I think that it's more like we're getting all this stuff about it, and there's nothing that's going to be happening against it. Really, it's just a stupid liberal push, and I hate to sound like a conservative, but I just feel like it. Like again, it's like marijuana. It's like a propaganda tool to create some issue to dish the actual presidency that we have right now. In a way.
Right. Let's look at it.
Like,
Go
there's
ahead.
all these women, dressing up like vaginas and everything. And seriously. And we're screaming. There was a picture I shared on Facebook. A bunch of women were in a circle and they were all nude, screaming out of their vagina. I go, you've got to be kidding me.
So how do you,
I'm going to piss people off by saying that.
No, say what you want to say.
I had people really mad at me because I wasn't going to, hey, I'm not wearing a pink pussy hat. I'm not. I don't agree with it. I'm not going to wear it. I don't want to wear it.
What does it look like? I've never seen it.
What's a pink pussy hat?
That little stupid hat where when they're marching, we're marching for women's rights, and we're Madonna out there with her hat, and I was burned down the White House. The whole thing is just
the whole lesbian affair.
Can I ask you a question? One, because I like asking questions.
Okay.
I like asking questions.
Okay.
In my lifetime, the only difference between Republican and Democrat. Republicans want to kill your ass after you're born. An electric chair or a legal injection, all that shit.
Right.
And the Democrats want to kill your ass before you're born. So whenever you look at it, it ain't really Donald Trump's fault. He was given what he was given. But if Hillary had came there, you look what she said about black men. She said it was predators. Yeah. So she want to kill our ass. Yeah, she want to kill our ass after we born. Yeah. So when you look at that whole argument, you just have to step back and look at it and say, you know what? It's really fucked up. Either one of them, both of them are the same. They are eagles with two wings flying in the same direction. But you have your ass fooled like you got a choice.
Right.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty
They make you think you have a choice. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. Exactly. So
go vote for a choice that you don't really have.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the job Trump is doing?
Well, I hope he pardons Julian Assange.
Okay.
He better pardon Julian Assange because that's the reason why he's been elected is because of WikiLeaks.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that's the reason why. Because I did vote for Trump because Hillary horrified me. Okay, it was like, well, what's the worst one right now that we can get by with a little bit longer with? Oh, okay, let me go to Trump because of what happened in the WikiLeaks.
Yeah,
and the DNC, they're guilty of corruption, fraud against Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders was a pussy he's a pussy by not saying anything. He wants to run for president again. I go sit down. Sit down. You can't defend yourself over what happened in the last election. You're not fit to be a president.
I'm with you, and a lot of my friends be against. I'm with you.
Yeah.
But
if I had voted, I would have voted for Trump, but I don't vote
exactly.
Because I'm like this.
And
this country is a corporation, regardless of what we want to call it, government and all that, whatever. If you got a corporation, I want a motherfucker in the office who know every in and out, every this and that, and know how to run the motherfucker. Look, he done been in his company, he done went bankrupt for what, 6, 7, 8 times, but his company's still moving. You understand? Because he know the loopholes. I want a motherfucker to know the loopholes.
He done had 3 divorces, bro, and ain't gave neither one of them motherfuckers no more than $25 million.
That's it.
I don't think he's racist. I don't see it.
He insults anybody.
Racist. I don't see it. I think that's a
You remember Roseanne Barr?
It's about the border.
Right. You remember Roseanne Barr?
Yeah.
He talked about her like she was a fucking dog, and she white.
Trump will talk about any motherfucker.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Sometimes we throw that racist shit. I mean, we have enough of racists in America. Sometimes we throw that shit out.
Where is it? I mean, I've been like, oh, he's so racist. Okay, because he wanted to strengthen the border. Do you know that the funding for the border happened during Obama's administration? Right. Like they were already wanting to strengthen the border. They put the money to be funded for that happened with Obama first. And
right.
Then, so he's just following through what was
he wouldn't
already
give Senator Hall his show.
I don't understand.
If he was a
I don't
racist.
understand.
How come they won't put a border between the top with Canada?
What?
How come they won't put a border up around Canada?
Well, why don't they, or how come they are?
Why aren't they?
Well,
the numbers.
Exactly.
The numbers. And nobody wants to talk about that. It's the numbers. There's way more motherfuckers coming through the southern border because they come from El Salvador, everything, Central America, everything. Canadians, they come here. Hey, Canadians come here and they're like, fuck, I need to go back to cold weather because y'all fucked up over here.
I think we, like,
I enjoy Toronto.
I'm about to go to Mexico and go, screw the U.S. No, I mean, seriously, we're about to go over the border.
I boxed there.
Yeah.
So I know they ain't really trying. Maybe some of the European countries go to Canada to come in, but you got to understand, everybody comes in for the southern border. Yeah. Everybody on every race. Because you don't have to have your passport stamp.
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
Exactly.
I just told them, guys.
Anyway, we do have more jobs.
Wrap up here.
Our employment rate is up from Obama. Yeah. We do have more jobs right now.
Yeah.
We are working more.
You got to give credit where credit is due.
Right. That is true. That is.
Now, I wouldn't hang with Trump, but he's kind of guy because he's an alpha male.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
And he said grab him by the pussy. Nobody's even asking, well, you talking about a strip club? Because that's the way they talk.
Women wanted him to grab her their pussy.
In the strip club, they want you to grab him by the pussy.
Come on.
And no, they ain't talking about going out in the street and grabbing nobody by the pussy. He's talking about a strip club.
Yeah.
But it's just
cheater 1, cheater 2, all the motherfuckers.
That's just weird, though. Yeah. I've never just gripped a woman down there.
Yeah.
Women do that all the time.
Yeah, but
but just going up and there's too many other things to grab. But
I wouldn't do that because I don't think she might have a sanitary napkin down there. Y'all call it Kotex or whatever the fuck y'all call it.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. Yeah, we got to wrap it up, man. Jay, wrap it up. We got to wrap it up right now. Tell them where they can find you at.
You can find me JSpeed OG60 on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube. I do vlogs all the time. And that's all I do. Everything I do is free. It's not for super chat or anything. I just like to pass on the information. Thank you for having the show.
No problem, man. Always respect you and the knowledge down there. Terry, tell them where you going to be performing at, and tell them where to find you on social media.
I'm on Facebook, Terry Joyce, T-E-R-E Joyce on Facebook, at Terry Joyce on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, at Terry Joyce, and also I'm on YouTube with Freedom of Joyce, but it also says Terry Joyce. So basically just, that's where I'm at.
Well, good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Al Toomer. And thank you for tuning in for another episode of Al Toomer's Toomer Town here in Morris Media. Thank you and good night.
Love from the Bloods and the Crips, Cali, from the valley to the beaches to the flatland. Cali on my plate, I'm like a big old fat man. The desert is dessert, great vibe.